And then lastly, we're going to use a couple of functions, or at least create a couple of functions that our agent can use for its agentic processes. In other words, tools that it can use. I'll first create a function called getServiceHistory that will be in my DB Academy and my getStartedAgents schema. What this is going to do is it's going to capture a user email as input and then return a table based on that user email. Now, these, of course, are just examples. Really, all I want to do is just show a couple of tools that can be used. As far as the specific syntax of this, really, it's just a basic SQL function that returns a table. It receives user email, returns a table based on that information that's in there. We're also going to create a second function called getReturnPolicy based on a policy name that is passed to it. It will also return a table then that will also be the return policy information. And again, it doesn't matter what the function itself does. It just matters that this is a tool that our agentic system can use. Now that I've explained what the cell does, let's go ahead and run it. And while it's running, we're going to create a vector index. And of course, we are going to absolutely explain what this is a little bit later on. But for now, this does take some time to provision this vector index. So I want to get this started early in the course so that by the time you get to the lessons where we're actually going to use the vector index, it's ready to go for you. What we need to do is we're going to mouse over to the navigation bar. I'm going to right-click on Compute and open that link in a new tab just like we did before. We'll go to that tab, and you'll see it's this tab here that currently says SQL Warehouses. I want to click on the Vector Search tab up at the top tab bar, and I'll create an endpoint. The name of this I want to call VS underscore endpoint underscore 1. I'll leave this on standard, which allows for a cheaper use case since we're just experimenting. Notice the advanced settings does allow you to provide a serverless usage policy. I'll go ahead and leave that on none, and I'll select confirm. Now, this vector search endpoint is going to take some time to provision, but I can actually associate a vector search index with this endpoint to make it so that it's ready to go when the provisioning is ready to go. I'll click on Create Index. I'll go to DB Academy, Get Started Agents, Product Docs Indexed, and select Next. You'll recall that this is the table that we just created from that Delta data that we imported earlier. I'm going to name the index Product Docs Index. For the primary key, I'll drop this open and select Product ID. For the columns to sync, I'll go ahead and just leave that blank so it syncs all columns. And I want to use existing embedding columns. Now, before I do that, though, I want you to note that Databricks can certainly compute the embeddings for you if you wish. In terms of this particular example, in order to save time, I'm going to use columns that already have embeddings ready to go. This column is actually found in the DB indexed doc vector, so I'll select that here for the embedding vector column. For the embedding dimension, in our case, it is 1024 or 1024. You would want to know the embedding dimension of your embeddings if you are using your own embeddings. Otherwise, again, you could just have Databricks compute them for you. For the vector search endpoint, I'm going to use that VS endpoint that we just created earlier. I'll select Triggered so that this will sync only when I ask it to, but do note you can continuously trigger this to keep that vector index up to date all the time. Let's look at the advanced settings. Notice the same serverless budget policy that we saw earlier. I'll go ahead and click Create. And the vector index then is going to then be associated with that VS endpoint 1 vector endpoint, and this will take about 10 or 15 minutes to provision. By the time we get to the lesson where we're going to use this, it's probably going to be ready, but just so you're aware, if it hasn't been 10 or 15 minutes, this endpoint is definitely not going to be ready for you, and you'll want to wait for it to finish up.